finally, I'm getting to a camera I've wanted to review ever since I started covering them, that being my very first digital camera, the Intel CS630, dubbed the Pocket PC camera. Not to be confused as a camera for pocket PCs, those are something else entirely that I've covered before. No, this is a pocketable battery-powered camera that connects via USB to a Windows PC. Effectively, it's a portable webcam with extra sprinkles, and it's that webcam capability that was my family's primary reason for buying it in 2001. Now, it was still the early days of the internet and all we had was dial-up, but we had family in other countries, and the idea of communicating with multimedia email was enticing. Plus, I was also going to be attending online high school for my freshman year, so it made sense to have a camera for remote schoolwork. So the fact that it could go from being a USB webcam to an on-the-go digital camera was simply a nice bonus. But that soon became its primary purpose by a lot, with the webcam side barely getting used and the Digicam side acting as our family's primary camera up until I got a Fuji FinePix A101 for my 15th birthday. Now, I also got a USB Gravis Gamepad Pro. That was a good day. But yeah, all that to say, I'm approaching this camera review from the perspective of someone who owned and used it extensively when it was new, so that changes things a bit. Typically, I cover stuff from back in the day that I wanted, but never actually had. So my experiences and example photos are all from the modern day, looking backwards with a more analytical and speculative viewpoint. But with this Intel Pocket Cam, I not only have experience, but lots of original photos I took back then. Like this one that you might have seen before, featuring my brother Luke playing the demo for Rogue Squadron 2 on a Walmart GameCube kiosk. Yep, that was taken by me in 2001 using the Intel Pocket Cam. I have over 2,500 other photos still saved, but we'll get to some of those in a bit. For now though, let's take a look back at the world this thing was birthed into, with its introduction in August of 2000. Intel had some high praise for itself with the PC Pocket Cam, and for good reason. They'd been trying to get a low-cost digital still and video camera off the ground for years, going back to their 1997 proposed specifications for a portable PC camera. The idea was to rely on Windows software to do much of the processing, not the camera hardware itself, and sell it for less than $200. Multiple companies were in talks with Intel, but manufacturing agreements never solidified. So Intel eventually went ahead and made the thing themselves, spread across 5 main models by 2001. The Easy PC Camera, Home PC Camera, Pro PC Camera, the Pocket PC Camera, and the Pocket Digital Camera. All serving different purposes and all using the same kind of CCD sensor inside, capturing images up to 640 by 480, and using a fixed focal length lens with a 50-degree field of view. But while most Intel cams relied on your computer for power and storage, the Pocket PC camera took batteries and came with 8 megabytes of internal storage, making for one heck of a value proposition. Especially at $149.99, the manufacturer's suggested retail price upon its launch in August of 2000. Compared to the majority of standalone digicams on the market, it was far less costly, often by hundreds of dollars. Of course, it also had hundreds of dollars fewer features too, but that was fine. Folks were simply excited to have a digital camera that could do stills and video for that price at all. And the press ate it up. Seriously, the sheer number of praise-heavy articles that followed the launch of this thing is impressive. Usually I'm lucky to find a couple of snippets at most when it comes to older digital cameras, but the Intel Pocket PC Cam, this thing was absolutely all over newspapers and magazines, with headlines saying how it was priced right and state-of-the-art. I really appreciate the choice of computer for demonstrating this thing too, an eMachines E1. Of all the PCs they could have chosen, they picked the one that had just been pulled from the market after a legal battle with Apple. I also found it amusing how this other article about the camera happened to be placed right beside a piece by Jim Cramer, where he's droning on and on about his year 2000 stock opinions, namely about the audiobook company Audible and how badly they were doing, calling them just another tree falling in the .com woods that nobody hears. On that note, this video is sponsored by... nah, I'm just messing with you. Anyway, let's get this sucker opened up. I bought a Pocket Cam, new old stock, still sealed, just for this video, and I've been itching to get inside. Opening up the box reveals a purple-coated cardboard container with the camera zip-tied in place and everything else jammed into the open cavity underneath. And first up here is the Quick Reference Field Guide, a handy little fold-out slip of paper that serves as the one and only set of physical instructions for operating the camera. There's also a black fabric carrying case that'll snugly fit both the camera and that folded-up field guide, as well as a nylon wrist strap for the camera itself. Next is the Software Quick Start Guide, basically just telling you how to insert a CD and call technical support in a half dozen languages. Following this is the Intel Create and Share software on CD-ROM. Then there's the USB cable, an impressively lengthy thing with USB 1.1 Type A and Type B connectors. Check out that translucent orange tip on the A connector. Doesn't get much fresher or classier than that. Then finally we have a quartet of super heavy-duty AAA batteries from Toshiba, which impressively haven't leaked at all. Carbon zinc as well, not alkaline. Either way, with a November 2002 expiration, I'm skeptical of them holding a charge, but we'll see. Lastly is the camera itself, which, after being cut loose from its quarter-century-old cable tie handcuffs, plops out of the plastic alongside its blue cradle. Both of which were quite dusty due to the open-air display packaging, but yeah, the cradle simply acts as a way to loosely mount the camera on top of a CRT monitor, nothing fancy. Nor is the camera itself, with grippy rubber bumps on the front beside the Intel logo, along with the viewfinder, activity LED, and fixed focal lens with a basic focus ring. Around back features no LCD but the USB-B connector, openings for the internal speaker and the viewfinder window. The bottom right corner is where those batteries are installed, the right side has a loop for the wrist strap, and underneath is a standard metal tripod mount. The top edge is where all the action is, with blue rubber buttons for settings and power, a clicky shutter button with half and full press functions, and a tiny little monochrome LCD for displaying status and settings. And that's it! A pretty decent spread of goodies for a first-time digital camera user, I think. Nothing more than you need, not much to get overwhelmed or confused by. To begin shooting, it's really as simple as installing batteries and turning it on, and we've got to test those old Toshibas, right? Well, what do you know, not only do they still work, but the camera shows a full charge. Didn't plan on using batteries older than the main cast of Stranger Things, but here we are. And I always used this muted back in the day too, so I forgot about its charmingly retro beeps and bloops. Sounds like an 80s IBM PC. Though it's capable of more, like the shutter sound when taking a picture. And yep, it's already taking pics, no further setup or memory card required. On default settings, around 128 pictures can be stored to its 8 megabytes of internal storage. And it's non-volatile flash memory, by the way, so you can swap dead batteries for new ones without losing any data. As for camera settings, there's not much to see. Pressing the mode button rotates through available modes, HQ for normal 640x480 stills, blank for 320x240 res, then HQ mode with a 10-second timer, multi-snap mode for a 5-image burst, and video mode, letting you record video clips for up to 10 seconds, depending on how long you hold down the shutter. And then holding down the mode button mutes the camera speaker. That's it! The only other things are the image counter, which shows current saved files, or how many are remaining if you half-press the shutter button for a moment. And the battery and focus indicators showing remaining charge and whether or not your image is in focus. Sort of. It's supposed to flash whenever it's out of focus, but really all it tells you is that the focus ring isn't set to infinity. The only time the focus ring actually lets you adjust anything is when it's connected to a PC running in live feed webcam mode. There's no way to enable macro shooting with the standalone camera. It'll just beep at you and refuse to take a picture at all. So yeah, anything beyond basic point-and-shoot photography is controlled through software. And just connect that 9-foot USB cable and run the installer and you're good to go. Intel's Create and Share software takes care of everything, with a graphical home screen offering up 8 shortcuts to the included tools and features, 5 more shortcuts along the bottom to commonly used importing, file managing, and recording modes, and a gallery on the left displaying your saved media. Along with a whole bunch of stock photos and video included as well for some reason. You'd think it'd be examples from the Intel Pocket Cam, but nope. It's just a whole gallery of random stuff and higher quality than anything the camera can capture itself. Some of it even has the stock company watermark. I love these video clips though. Every one of them is a phenomenal 90s vibe. Anyway, the main thing to do here obviously is grab photos from the camera and save them to your PC, which despite being USB 1.1 is still pretty quick since even high quality photos are around 50 kilobytes. The videos do take longer, taking up 600K or so for a full 10-second clip, but it's pretty painless. And at this point, you're free to edit. Intel's Gallery here offers the simplest of edits, brightness, contrast, rotating, and cropping. But they also bundled MGI Photo Suite 3 SE for more involved manipulation. Yeah, I was always more of a JASK Paint Shop Pro person, but this still brings back memories. That earth tone interface and bubbly UI, and all the go-to special effects that every single paint program in the world had by the turn of the millennium. It's delightfully corny nonsense, and I love every last bit of it. Of course, you can also capture images and video directly from the camera in USB webcam mode, which is also done through the main Intel app. Or really any compatible capture program. Regardless, you're given the standard controls and adjustments that you get with any webcam driver, and can take still photos at up to 640 by 480 as you'd expect, but also video. The standalone camera can only handle 160 by 120 res clips of 10 seconds at most, but through your PC the limitations are removed, and you're free to capture the full CCD sensor in real time provided you have the processing power. But yeah, the rest of the application's offerings are largely just shortcuts to other programs or built-in wizards. Video phone call opens up Microsoft Net Meeting, nothing special there. Sending an email postcard brings up a template for pictures and text to be combined into an attachment. Building a movie is the simplest of video editors with a small handful of text and transition effects, but hey, it was my first time playing with digital video at all, so I loved it back then. The homepage builder is similar to the email postcard maker, except here you're choosing HTML templates to upload somewhere instead of creating attachments. Auto Snapshot Mode lets you set up an automated time-lapse, activated either by motion or at set intervals, and saving images either locally or to a web server. Sending a video email is precisely what it sounds like. It's the same thing as recording a video clip normally, except it optimizes the file for emailing by compressing the crap out of it. And finally, camera games, which may look rather familiar if you're a regular viewer, since it's the exact same tech used in the Reality Fusion Game Cam I covered on LGR Oddware. With some of the same games too, or versions of them, like Shoop, the motion-sensitive basketball competition, Pop the Bubbles, which, yeah, you pop bubbles and silly things happen, depending on the bubble popped. Bounce It, something that I have no idea why it's here. It's more of a demo than anything else, demonstrating that yes, you can interact with things on screen. Wii. And then there's Jump In Video, a music visualizer thing that turns your camera feed into a trippy bunch of visual weirdness while upbeat cool kid music plays on repeat, or you can insert a CD and play your own tunes. Yeah, I mean, honestly, I remember finding these pretty darned amusing for an afternoon back then. The fact that this was included for free was pretty great. No need to buy the dedicated Reality Fusion camera anymore. These were simply an added bonus that happened to be packed in. Alright, so I'm going to do things a little bit differently for the looking at photos section this time, because I I have new stuff that I just took, and then of course I have pictures from 20 plus years ago. I want to show some of those, because why not? So here's the first photo that I took just out of the box. I'm still surprised those Toshiba batteries work. They're still showing a full charge on the camera too, but yeah, it's not a terribly great selfie cam for, well, reasons like this. I mean, you cannot do macro at all when it's just a standalone camera. Even something here, so it's shot like 4 feet away, is still kind of blurry looking. And also see the high contrast, like the black levels are crunched, a lot of the highlights are blown out, and there's a lot of saturation. That is a distinct look that this camera provides. Even just a shot of trees in the sky right there, it's like a vignetting on the left-hand side is kind of interesting. I don't know, there's really no other camera that I have that looks exactly like this. Yeah, it's a pretty distinct aesthetic to this camera. These are all shot at 640 by 480 as well, the high quality mode, so this is as good as it gets. I'll get to the videos later because I can't view them in this stupid Windows 11 viewer. But yeah, I was just going around my usual photographing spots for camera tests. So there's the Rosden Mall, some more downtown Hendersonville kind of stuff going on. The selfie wall that I always try to do, like an outstretched arm selfie. Again, kind of blurry on the face where things in the background are more crisp, and that's really what it likes. It doesn't like anything really closer than like 6 feet. Everything beyond that is going to be nice and crispy, but again, you're really limited by the lack of any kind of auto macro adjustment or focusing, or even manual focusing for that matter. They have this toy store down there that I found quite amusing to get on camera, because I just took a lot of the retail photos back in the day, and we'll get to some of those. And this reminded me of that. Toy stores are kind of timeless, and I like taking timeless sort of looking photos with older cameras, like this Honda Del Sol. Older cars, old buildings, things like that. It's really kind of impossible to tell when these photos were taken, and I love that. I really, really do. I mean, you can see kind of a newer car going on back there, but other than that, I mean, this could have been taken back in the day. Like the Subaru Legacy, timeless photo. But as amusing as that is, it's almost even more amusing to me personally to take pictures of newer things, like this new Camaro here, just a spread of newer cars, because it feels like time travel in the opposite direction. Because all of the photos up until now that I had taken with this camera were 20 plus years ago. So yeah, taking pictures of older things and then taking pictures of newer things, it's a time travel effect through the lens of this camera. Of course, the classic Ingalls sign, again, it's crunching the black levels, and the highlights are all over the place, and like the colors are really oversaturated compared to what it was in real life. But yeah, I think it looks awesome. Some of these interior shots as well. I don't know, there's something about this camera's look that I'm really appreciating a lot more these decades later. I had to take a picture of this guy too, because like, what the heck was going on? And yeah, just some flowers around the yard here to end things out. Again, I wish it could do any kind of macro, but it just beeps at you anytime you try to enable that. You have to have it connected to a computer in the webcam live feed mode. So I did take some video clips, not very many, because I knew they'd be, well, like this. Highly crunchy, 160 by 120 res, 11.11 frames per second, and 680-ish kbps in terms of bitrate. I think it's just a Motion JPEG AV container thing. I'm not entirely sure, but yeah, it's pretty much like taking very low-res burst photos, and then it stitches them together on the computer once you get them copied over like that through the importer. You can grab some footage here of getting some more AAA batteries from that grocery store, just in case I needed them, but like I said, I haven't yet. Anyway, yeah, these video clips, I took quite a bunch of video clips on this camera back in the day. As bad as they are, I still found it extremely captivating, and you know, being able to just experience video editing for the first time, in retrospect, that was a pretty valuable thing to get into around 2000, 2001. All right, now we're gonna get into some of these older photos that I took back in the day, 23 years ago, whatever it is for a lot of these. I mean, I had over 2,500, like I said, but we're not going to go into all those, of course, but I've chosen like 50-ish. And I had to start with the Viper GTS. I vividly still remember this day, seeing this and happened to have the camera on me and just being like, why is that on the side of the road at this random dealership in Winston-Salem off Peters Creek Parkway? There it was. I mean, I was always taking car photos back then, you know, way more than even now. Car spotting remains a favorite pastime, but yeah, back then, seeing cars that were special or unique or just stood out to me and my friends. Always loved going to car dealerships. Foreign Cars Italia in Greensboro was a big one that we just, anytime we'd be driving by, right, off the interstate, be like, can we please stop and see what they have? And they always had an incredible selection. I'm sure they still do. I think they're still around. Maybe they're called something else now. But yeah, even our Ford Aerostar, heck yeah, dude. I'd honestly still buy one of these again if I could find one in really good condition that still ran and actually had a transmission and stuff and had blown head gaskets or anything. But yeah, the Compaq Presario 5000 US, that was the computer that we had back then. There was our really 90s computer setup, but this is the year 2001 here probably. And there's me, I think, doing some of my online schoolwork there as a freshman year high school. This is also a good example of how the camera handles indoor kind of lower lighting. Not terribly well, but you know, it's actually not nearly as bad as a lot of the other even more expensive cameras from even just a couple years earlier, really, that I've tested. So yeah, it's interesting. Like, this is another set of pictures here from just an outdoor concert I guess we went to in Winston back then. It's like a steel drum concert, it looks like. But yeah, as you can see, as the sun was going down and different lighting conditions, this is at night here pretty much, or at least a little past sundown. And again, it's not the worst, but you really had to hold that thing extremely still because the shutter speed, angle, whatever, gets extremely slow. As evidenced by some fireworks photos here. Nobody ever looks at their old fireworks photos. Well, we're doing it today. It's the first time for everything. Yeah, honestly, it's kind of better than you might expect, all things considered, but still, it is what it is for this little thing. But it gives, again, some interesting results for very colorful stuff and some not bad dynamic range, even when direct sunlight or shaded kind of areas, again, as long as you're holding it quite still. Some classic Winston-Salem kudzu right there. But yeah, I think this is Salem Lake or something. I really like the look of outdoorsy, naturey kind of photos under the right lighting and conditions. I don't know, there's something extremely nostalgic about this. I mean, not just because I have memories of it, it's part of it, but yeah, I don't know. There's a look to this camera, something to be said about it. It's me looking like a 90s album cover, but foggy forest and kind of waterfalls. Yeah, this was pretty impressive at the time. And even now, it's like, wow, these are like real pictures on a camera that looks like a dang play school toy. Now, you do sometimes get some weirdness like this right here. I found these kind of interesting to revisit and be like, wow, what's going on with the colors there? Weird color balancing issues there, or white balance, I guess. But of course, you know, going through old photos, then you start seeing like long gone pets and really special, truly special pictures. Shirley on her skateboard, that big off-road skateboard. I don't know why she loves sleeping on that thing. But yeah, in terms of stuff I was taking pictures of back then, I mean, it really was just absolutely everything. Because why not? It's a digital camera. You can do whatever you want. Here's a couple of gas stations. Look at those gas prices. So of course, retail photos. I don't know why there's a picture of just like beef jerky and Slim Jims, but there it is. Here's the inside of a Sam's Club. You can see the Sony Vega TVs up there. These are all going to be CRTs too. This back corner of the Sam's Club, we spent a lot of time back here because I remember over here, or maybe it was over here, they used to have like computers set up and the game consoles and things. And man, some of these I've shared before, like this of a Sims shelf in Best Buy. Look at that. The Sims Hot Date had just come out. Tons of copies of The Sims, tons of copies of House Party, and I think maybe Living Large, Sim Theme Park. But look at all the hot dates. A million copies of Sheep. of course, the photo with Luke there at the GameCube kiosk in Walmart. I like the detail of all of these GameCube games put in sideways on the shelving, because there were still the old N64 shelves which went in sideways, but the GameCube was still fresh enough, they just stuck them in sideways. And I think this is a Best Buy again. Just a random guy, don't know who it was, playing PlayStation 2. Also still pretty fresh at the time, and yeah, we've got a racing game end cap here. A lot of PS1 was still going on. The PC selection, I wish I had gotten more photos of the big boxes. They had such an epic selection at Best Buy back then. But yeah, Need for Speed Porsche Unleashed and a Sega GT, I think, was the thing that I really wanted at the moment. And I believe this is the first time I ever learned of its existence at all. And oh yeah, also Motor City Online back at a Walmart. I was taking pictures of things that I didn't know were a thing because, you know, just unless you got magazines or whatever or went online, then how are you going to know about games coming out? You just learned what was around by going to stores. Oh, the poor Dreamcast. Yeah, this thing was on its way out. I was also stoked to see this lovely shot of the interior of Haynes Mall as it used to be, with these big metallic, you know, metal sculpture things and all the plants everywhere. This was actually a water feature from what I recall. Of course, they had a car display. I'm sure that's why I took a picture of it. But yeah, near the Belk anchor. I used to have a lot more personality in that mall. And like I said, I did capture a lot of video clips back then, and picked a few out here. Just a walk around of that Dodge Viper. Got a Winston-Salem drive-by situation. not that kind, although that happens a lot. But yeah, this is, I think, Cherry Street or something. I don't know, just around that area. Looking out the window, going towards downtown. I so clearly remember this day. Yeah, going up for the first time in my Uncle Mark's Cessna. So he had just, I think, gotten his pilot's license. And seeing your town, your home, from the air at all is pretty magical, but being able to have like a little camera that you could just take and get video clips and share with your friends, be like, dude, look, here's what it looks like. And you know, because objectively bad as this is, low res, I can't, what is this? What are we even looking at? It kind of doesn't matter. I don't remember ever caring. I remember wishing it was better, but at the same time, the fact that I have video at all, and it was on my computer and so easy to work with, and just right here in this little thing, it was such a cool experience, that camera. What a neat thing to revisit. Well, that's about it for the Intel Pocket PC camera. Something I always meant to revisit because it was my first digital camera, simple as that. But it wasn't until I actually immersed myself in it for the first time again in over 2 decades that I came to realize just how impactful it really was. Before this, I loved using 35mm cameras and VHS camcorders, but both used up valuable resources in the form of film and tape. And then this Intel Cam, this changed everything. As plain and low res as it was the thing that put me on a digital path forward, a path that leads directly to where I am now and what I do on LGR. This toy-like camera is what led to me first experimenting with digital image manipulation and nonlinear video editing, plus just realizing the freedom that shooting digital provides compared to film. All of a sudden, I didn't have to worry about wasting film or tape on silly nonsense. I could capture all the silly nonsense I wanted. And sure, this led to 90% of what I shot looking like hot garbage, but who cared? With every crappy, out of focus, badly exposed image I took, I just learned a little more about how not to suck. And I just kind of never stopped, moving on to increasingly better cameras and more capable software until I somehow ended up doing it full-time online. And I can trace that whole journey directly back to this goofy little glorified Intel webcam thing with batteries. It's weird how things work out sometimes. And if you enjoyed this LGR camera retrospective, then check out the many others I've done. There's a good chance you'll enjoy those too. And if you ever had this Intel Pocket Cam or any of the others that they made back then, let me know. Curious how many folks started out with these or had one at one point, what your experiences were. And I hope you stick around for more LGR episodes continually in the works. And as always, thanks for watching.